This workshop has been prepared as part of the Tipping Points project and originally ran live on Zoom in March 2021. As well as this video, there are a range of interview videos and film walks in the landscape as part of the downloadable resource pack, and the link is in the description below and on the Landlines website. This workshop focuses on creative writing and is inspired by Stirley Community Farm, an inspirational place, restoring grassland, working with animals, running activities promoting looking after the environment, but I'm not there. And if you're watching this, it's likely you're not either. But wherever you are, if you want to, get involved. So, if you like, feel free to come along on this journey of writing. To write about this stuff, we'll be using some exercises to generate ideas. I'll be giving some hints and tips, but also lots of imagination. Who am I? Well, alright.
Hi, my name is Testament. I'm a hip-hop artist, a rapper, a beatboxer, but also a writer. I came to nature writing really late in life. Or that is consciously came to it, because actually I think that nature is always trying to break in on us as people, whether we perceive it or not. I spent most of my life living in cities, and even in cities you can see nature breaking in through the brick and concrete. And then later on in life, I not only continued to rap, but I then branched out into using rap in theatre. And that was the sort of the big break for me, I guess, using rap and the tools of hip-hop to tell story, to express oneself in different spaces. And in 2018, my first play for other actors premiered, which was called Black Men Walking. And that play was about identity and landscape, and particularly thinking about British identity and how that's connected with landscape. And as part of the commission, when I was commissioned to write that, I ended up having to go on walks with a black men's walking group in Sheffield, who were awesome bunch of people. And they really opened my eyes to the importance of landscape, not just in terms of ecology and the world, which is obviously very crucial, but also in terms of our inner ecology as well, our mental health, our physical health. So that has been a transformative turning point for me, as not just as a writer, but also as a human. So now, in 2021, you will see me walking around Yorkshire or Lake District or up in the Highlands with my family, going out there. And actually, it isn't now just the urban landscape that informs my work, but it is also the countryside, and being out more in what we consider to be,
in inverted commas, nature.
So when we think about nature writing, we think about that we're responding to our environment. And that's what it is. It is a response. It's an interaction. It's about our relationship with the environment. We're not scientifically describing, oh, that's a tree. This is, the sky is blue. It's made up of these atoms or elements, although that could be part of it. What we're really doing is something that's not just a scientific description, but something that's elevated and heightened. It's about our relationship to the space, whether you're writing about an urban environment or a countryside like this. So let's start where you're at right now.
Let's look at your landscape. This is where I am right now. Nice, isn't it? Not the first thing you think about when you're talking about creative writing and nature. But sometimes it can be good to start where we're at. Start here and see where it goes. So if I was to start writing about where I am here, just write about the things that pop into my head right now. No pressure, just anything that comes into my head. I could just write what I see. Kitchen, clutter, dishes, tired, work, a mess. It's a mess I've made myself. Alone. No, lonely. no time, enclosed, trapped. That'll do. So that's my first attempt at writing something. And the good thing about just taking the pressure off and just writing whatever comes into your head is that sometimes it can start with something, a physical description like a place or an object and stuff like that. But quite quickly, you know, it could turn into feelings and emotions or how you feel about the object. You know, like a dirty dish. For a human, it could be, oh, these dishes are dirty. But if you're a fly, you might not think that the dishes are dirty at all. You might think that, you know, that's lunch, you know. So it's actually more to do with our relationship to those things. And that's what makes it exciting for me as a reader, is when I'm reading something literally on a page and I'm not just hearing about an environment, but I can feel like I'm there, or I can feel like I'm in the shoes of the person who's writing or the voice that's writing, because I can sort of pick up and detect their feelings about the environment and how the environment's making them feel, and their relationship to it. So, where are you? So we're going to start right where you're at. Same thing, no pressure. You can focus on the micro detail about what's happening where you are, or just pick out the things that you see and see how you feel. Try and describe your emotions about the place where you're at right now. So stop the video and have a bash. Okay, so hopefully that went well. Well done for having a bash, as they say. The next thing we're going to do is to widen the boundary a little bit and to cross over into a new sort of territory, a new space. Because what you've done so far is describe your immediate surroundings, your immediate environment. I'm imagining most of you are indoors, so it will be stuff that has definitely got a boundary between the world and yourself. But I want to think about nature and how nature is trying to break in on us, so to speak. So if you were likely writing indoors, take a moment to be still and to listen and to use your senses. And you could be listening to things that are going on outside. What is this outer world of nature doing? Can you detect nature? If you can't, if it's silence, or what do you think that might mean? Why is it silent? What is nature doing beyond your immediate periphery? If your first exercise you happen to be watching the video on a hillside and you already feel quite immersed in nature, perhaps then it's about writing about what you can't see, so what's under the ground maybe, or what's behind that hill, or those sort of more ephemeral elements of nature. So yeah, that's your next task, is to try and again just sketch out a word, an idea, of what you can imagine, or perhaps what you can perceive nature to be doing beyond your immediate sphere, the place where you're at right now. And as I say, probably most likely be outdoors. Go for it. How was that? Well, hopefully you've done two sort of mini sort of word ideas, phrase ideas, generating exercises. First one, just really rough sketches about your immediate surroundings. The second one, more about nature beyond your immediate environment, and what hopefully you can perceive beyond that, whether that's literally perceive it or through your imagination. And if you look at the two pieces of writing, there may be a juxtaposition between the two. Do you get a sense that these two sort of things have conflict, and they sort of there's dichotomy between the two, that they don't really mesh, and perhaps there's somewhat abrasive about the two different sort of emotions or feelings that go on? Or it could be that actually one is kind of flows into another. If your immediate surrounding was a giant, beautiful bay window, and you were looking out over a rolling hill, perhaps when you were writing, you were thinking about this sort of expansive sort of self, and you could sort of picture yourself actually sort of being sort of on the runway into nature. I don't know. Or it could be something completely different. But what your next task is to imagine if those two, emotions, feelings, places were to have a conversation, what would it be? And in particular, the thing I probably would get you to focus on is, what has nature got to say to that first poem, that first piece of writing? So you've sort of a collection of words and phrases over here about your immediate surroundings, and a collection of words and phrases, maybe the odd sentence about nature. And then now try and work out, what is it, nature saying to this inner sort of more restricted sort of area? What would nature say? Is it an invitation? Is it an assault? Is it an encouragement? Is it a rebuke? What is nature saying to that inner, probably more indoor world? Right, so now, with that word in mind, if you have a piece of paper, maybe perhaps you want to write it at the top of your page, I'm going to ask you some strange questions about that word. This exercise will abstract that feeling, that sort of non-tangible word, and make it tangible. This is what I love about poetics. It's not just the physical description of something, or even a beautiful description of something, but it's using metaphorical language to sort of elevate it. So we aren't just getting the here and now, we're getting a sort of really emotional connection to it. And so this is an imagery generating exercise. So with your word at the top of the page, if your word had a colour, what colour would it be? So I'm going to give the example. If it was hopeful, maybe the first thing I would think of would be orange. But I might write orange, or I could write, it's the colour of 1,000 sunsets exploding in my heart. There's a number of different ways you could write it. There's no limit. So try and write it as colour. Your word, if as a colour. And you can be as flowery or not in your description of it. The next one would be perfume. If this word could somehow magically be plucked out of the air and squished and compressed and condensed down into a perfume, and you uncorked the bottle of perfume, or gave yourself a little spray of the perfume on your wrist, and you took a whiff of it, what kind of smell would this word give off? So if it was hopeful, it would probably be something quite pleasant. So try and think, what would the perfume be like? Hopeful by Dior. What is that scent? The next one would be to do with your fingers and your palms. If you could touch this word, how would it feel? Would it be an electric shock to your fingers? Would it be fluffy? Would it be moist? Would it be hard as rock? Would it be, like sandpaper? Would it be like you put your hand into a load of extended Stanley knives? The next one would be if you took a bite out of this word, what would the sensation be like in your mouth? What flavors, what taste would you get from it? And then the next one, you probably guessed, we're going through the senses. So color is sight, perfume is scent. What you touch with your fingers is obviously touch. And what you bite, you taste. But actually, we're not going to do sound. Let's do weather instead. If this word was a weather forecast, what would it be like? So to use my example of hopeful, it would probably be, to be right on the nose, the sun popping out above a cloud or something like that. But it could be, you could write that, or you could write Frisbee on the park on a Sunday. There's a number of different ways to describe the weather forecast. The next question would be, how would it move? If this word could move, how would it travel? Would it crawl? Would it slide? Would it bobsleigh? Would it get a train to Manchester Piccadilly and then change? How would the word move if it was a person, or if it was a creature? And the last thing is, what's the antonym of the word for you, or in the context that you're thinking? Because the opposite of hopeful could be despair, but for somebody it could be overconfidence, could be an antonym. Yeah, you decide. So squiggle that all down, and then we'll click on to the next video. Okay, so now you've got a bank of imagery, and it all ties in with that, emotive word that you've used early on. And that's really great because it means we can explore some grand ideas in ways that sort of use the text of our everyday lives. So if you're describing hopefulness, maybe use the fresh bowl of oranges, as a metaphor to describe the color or the taste of something. So all of a sudden, hopefulness becomes a fresh bowl of oranges delivered to your door, and that metaphor finds its way into your writing. So you've got like a bank, almost like a palette of different imagery which you've just generated with an exercise, which, like a painter, you can kind of get your brush and go, I'll take a bit of that colour and a bit of that and a bit of that. In the same way, you can go, I'll take a bit of the weather forecast idea and a bit of the sense of taste, and use that and paint that in a paragraph of writing, in a song, in a rap. And you've got this lovely textures that you can use to make something which can be quite abstract, really relatable to a reader or a listener. So now we're going to turn our attention to Stirley Community Farm. We've actually got an interview series which is available, 4 different interviews with Stephanie Turner, the Inspiring People Officer, Lorna Beattie, the Living Landscapes Assistant, Elliot Baxendale, the Project Officer, and Ray Fox, a volunteer. All of them connected with and working with Stirley Community Farm in one way or the other. And what I find particularly inspiring about it is it's not just sort of information about the farm, it's about people's interaction with it. And that for me is, personally for me, like always my way into stuff about our relationship with it. And it's easy to empathize when someone is talking about their relationship to it. And because these are videos as well, you don't have to take things on face value and literally be thinking, oh, I'm going to write my response to what someone is saying about rewilding. It could be simply about a turn of phrase that the interviewee says that gives you an inspiration. You think, oh, I haven't thought about something like that before. Because it's a visual medium, it could be the background, the environment that is being captured on film there that inspires you, or the body language of the interviewee, or the way in which one of the interviewees might talk about a memory and how that triggers something in you. So what's your response to the videos? So pick one video, watch it, and write a few notes on your initial reactions to it and anything you see or hear in the video that leaps out at you. So you've watched the Stirley Community Farm video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, or at least found something interesting in it. The main thing for me is that it triggers something, that it sparks some sort of emotional response. Whether that's, oh, that's interesting, or I hadn't thought of that, or what an interesting turn of phrase. Or it could even be something adverse, like, oh, that aspect's particularly boring, I hate that, or I disagree with that. It needs to trigger something of life, so we're not just wrestling with dead words, but like there's something in there, something that we can get a hold of. Because it doesn't have to be a big long essay. For me, creative writing can be that, and that's exciting, but it could also be a really short poem where I just get a vivid hit of emotion or a thought which is going to stay with me for the rest of the day, right? So looking at your notes, we're going to do a free write exercise. Free writing is when you don't censor yourself and you just write anything that comes into your head, like a stream of consciousness. And your pen doesn't leave the page, your fingers don't leave the keyboard or device or whatever. So set a timer for 2 minutes. Pick something out of the notes that you've written on the video. So it could be some bit of description that you've written, or something that made you smile or laugh, or annoyed you. Just pick something that you feel like's got some sort of emotional resonance, and then free write, starting with that as your first thing. So it's kind of a bit of a structured free write in that A, it's 2 minutes long, and B, you're starting with a jump off point, which is something that you've written in your notes. And for 2 minutes, you've just got to keep writing. Even if you halfway through are writing and you find yourself scribbling, I don't know what I'm writing now, I should probably give up. That's fine. That's fine. Because the next thing that you write could be, I should probably give up. The whole world has gone into an inferno, and blah, blah, and all of a sudden you've got into sort of, oh, that bit's actually quite interesting. I didn't expect to write that. I was just moaning, but that bit of moaning or whatever it was is I'm going to use that later on. You just don't know. But for the 2 minutes, don't think about it. You just write. You're not trying to compose a poem. You're not trying to overthink it. You're literally just dumping your brain onto a page. So set 2 minutes with the jump off point from your notes from the video. Go. Now you've completed your free write. Look back through what you've written and highlight the phrases, the sentences, the sections of what you've written that you might like. It could just be one sentence in the whole 2 minutes of writing. That's great. You've created a little diamond there. If you do have access to another human being, show it to them. Sometimes the things that you think are rubbish actually really resonate with people, and you've just come up with a key to opening up a whole new piece of writing or another way into a piece of work. So throughout this whole video, there's been a number of different sort of exercises and sort of provocations that we've sort of been through, from initially writing about your immediate surroundings to thinking about the outer world, the natural world, and what our relationship is between this inner space that we're in right now, probably indoors, and sort of the sense of Mother Earth, nature, the elements, if you will. And then, the imagery generating exercise that we came up with, the different colours, perfumes, tastes, weathers, all that. And then the response to the video, and then how that response to the video generated a free write. So if you look at everything you've written, you'll have all these jewels, these diamonds, if you like, of phrases, imagery, ideas, concepts, all these different things that you can just pick up one and you can just run with one. Think, okay, I'm gonna turn this concept from Stirley Community Farm into a poem, or my response to that interview. Or it could be, it's all about the first exercise. Or you could collage the things together and just pick up all these amazing little amuse-bouches, if you like, and turn it into a great big meal. And it could be an essay or a rap or a poem or a song. But you'd be surprised, especially when you start sharing it with other people, as I mentioned earlier, like how rich the things that you created just by going through a process are, and how much meaning it can carry for different people, and then even when on your own reflection for yourself as well. My last encouragement to you is thank you for taking part in the video. But is not to censor oneself or not to overthink too much. It's only by creating that we can actually look at something and expect it and improve it and hone it and make our voices clearer, whether that's finding our own voice or using our voice to connect to others. And by doing that, hopefully we make the world a little bit better. All right, thanks very much. My name's Testament. Peace.